Hey guys, RJM324 here. Now, before I start, I need to apologize for how late my Slenderman review came. I had recorded it and the update video on the Monday before this past Monday, but after that I had to go through 6 8-hour shifts at work in a row. So I practically had no time to be able to edit that Slenderman video in time, but I do hope you enjoyed it nevertheless. So this past Thursday I went to go see the new movie Alpha, a movie which I didn't really have that much expectations for, but that I went to go see anyways because, well, again, I needed something to do on a Thursday night. And what did I think about it? Better than I thought, actually. Now, just like with Slenderman, the story is very simple. Basically, you have this son of a chief in this prehistoric tribe that lived during an ice age about 20,000 years ago. No, this is not a real story, but who knows, maybe this could be close to what it could have been. Probably not, but still. Anyway, a small group from this tribe, which includes the chief and his son, have traveled a long distance to hunt down some bison for the winter. During this, however, the son gets cold feet because of course he did. This is a character we've seen in How to Train Your Dragon Alone. The kid's attacked and thrown off a cliff, presumed to have died. But like the Martian, we already know he's not dead from the trailers alone, so that doesn't really work as a fake out. Anyway, the kid survives and he has to try making his way back home with the help of a wolf he injured at the beginning of his journey. And you can pretty much guess what happens throughout the movie because, like I said, it's a pretty simple story that has a pretty simple outcome, so you shouldn't really be surprised about where it goes. Unlike Slenderman, however, Alpha actually has something that Slenderman didn't have. Something else but a story to entertain the people. First off, let's start off with the acting. The acting is, well, I can't really say for how well the lines were delivered because they were in a different language and subtitled. But when there wasn't any dialogue, I thought that the acting was generally really good. The two standouts here are the chief and the son of whom carries this whole movie, but the chief turning in a surprisingly nuanced performance. Sure, he's the stereotypical chief who is disappointed with his son, but unlike something like How to Train Your Dragon, he doesn't let that get in the way of how much he loves his son. And when the son actually goes over the cliff early on in the movie, you really feel like the chief is breaking down. With the chief being the alpha of their tribe, he has to act stoic and tough, and he knows what he's doing, even though inside he is still scared, even if it's just a little bit. But once he realizes his son has probably not made it and has died, he breaks down really genuinely, and it feels like he's really tormented. And it's not like he mourned over him for a few minutes on screen. He goes through an entire day broken, and when they have to return to their village, he still can't bring himself to let him go, but he reluctantly does it. Even if you can't say for sure whether the dialogue was delivered well, you cannot deny the emotions that were felt from this character. The boy is also really good. Again, you can't really tell if the lines are delivered perfectly or not, but you really feel his pain, you feel his struggles, and you feel like he's really in trouble at points, especially when they get to the Ice Age part of the movie, which can sometimes feel really tense. And all the other performances are really good too. Some of them aren't as strong, but that's to be expected. Even if you have a good director, not everybody can take that direction perfectly. Hell, some people still probably wouldn't deliver a good performance even with a good director, but I'm just saying, good direction can help a long way. Speaking of that, the direction was also pretty strong. He clearly knew how to direct his actors, and most of the shots in the movie were actually really well done, even if some of the shots were generated with computer-generated graphics. Likewise, the cinematography is also pretty strong. There are some long tracking shots going across the environment which look really good, even if there are some points when the CGI seems pretty obvious. And while I won't break down every single shot, I can confidently say the direction and the cinematography worked hand in hand to deliver a pretty visually interesting movie. While we're at it, let's talk about the CGI. For the most part, if there was CGI, it was pretty much unnoticeable. However, there are a few tracking shots which were very obviously made with CGI, and while I wouldn't consider it bad, it was definitely very noticeable and very cheap looking, which is surprising for a movie that was made on about $50 to $80 million. It doesn't break the flow of the movie, and it doesn't break my immersion since they're a very small part of the movie. I'm just saying that it was plenty noticeable. The same goes for the music to an extent. While I overall thought that the score was decent, there were still a few standout tracks that stuck in my head for the next few days at least. And just like Slenderman, the movie knew when to use the score and when not to use the score to let all the background noise and ambience just seep into your eardrums. Here though, I think that the audio mixing was actually much better than in Slender Man. I know that's not saying much and I shouldn't be comparing a horror movie to an adventure movie, but whenever something was out of frame, you didn't hear it at its full volume, you heard it muffled. Which is a small detail that I appreciate with movies like this. Movies that know that just because something is out of frame doesn't mean they speak at the same volume. And can I just say one thing? I love that freaking wolf. Whether it was hurt and whimpering or up and growling at the main character, it was just an adorable little thing. And I'm not going to spoil it, but what happens to the wolf at the end will make you cry. And no, it's not what you're thinking, I'm sure. So let me go ahead and wrap up. I went into Alpha not expecting much. From the trailers, I thought it was just going to be a mostly silent, sort of cinematic experience where all I had going for it was the visuals. I tend to do that a lot with movies that I don't really care much for, and sometimes it results in me being very surprised. And here is no exception. The direction was great, the cinematography was great, the acting was really good, especially for the main two. The score was alright with a few exceptions. The CGI is, again, very cheap looking at points, but it's never distracting. And they have a wolf. How could you say no to that? Well, okay, if you're not really a dog lover, you might not get sucked into the movie as much as someone like me, but if you're looking for a spectacle that's easy on the brain, where you don't have to think about it that much and all you have to do is just watch the movie, I think you'll get some pretty good mileage out of this. Sure, it's predictable and the characters are pretty one note at the beginning, but as time goes on, you learn that there's actually more to them than you'd think. The chief is not completely in control, the child is not just an oblivious idiot, and the wolf is not just nice for the sake of being nice. Every character plays its part, and it plays its part way better than it had any right to be. So if you were planning on going to see Slender Man this week, don't do that. Please go support Alpha, because Lord knows it's going to need all the help it's going to get for a movie that doesn't have a lot of big name actors. It's a fun, charming little adventure flick, and if you have little children, they'll probably enjoy it just as much. Just be wary of some violent and slightly gory material. I think I'm going to give Alpha a 7 out of 10. It has its flaws, sure, but if you go into it with an open mind and not expecting a masterpiece, I think you're going to really enjoy this one. And that's my review. Did you like this one? Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want more content like this. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video.